I'm excited to chat with Andi Munsie today on the Awaken Feminine podcast. Andi is the creator of the 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢 𝐌𝐮𝐧𝐬𝐢 voice companion, which gives modern women their femininity and intuition back by making them own their entire cycle. From there, Andi knew it had to be a bigger movement. So she created the 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢 𝐌𝐮𝐧𝐬𝐢 28-day challenge so that, she's now changing women's lives around the world. And I know she has so much love and wisdom to share with us today. She's joining me from Albania, but I know she is a fellow Aussie. So welcome to the show, Andi.
Thank you so much, 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢, for having me.
I'm so excited for our conversation because, you're doing some amazing things. But before we dive in, can you share with us what is your definition of an awakened feminine?
Oh, great question. Well, it definitely will have to do with the with becoming conscious of the four seasons of a woman's menstrual cycle and really knowing the gifts that each phase of her cycle like gives her. So really understanding that she is a cyclical being and that like when she moves from her menstrual into her follicular, into her ovulation, into her luteal, that same cycle and those same patterns are going to come up next cycle and next cycle and next cycle. So she's really living in tune with her body and with her hormones and living from within and which means that her life is flowing on the outside. So yeah, that's super exciting to me when you think of that awakened feminine and who's in tune with her menstrual cycle.
Yeah. I love that definition. Thanks for sharing, Andi. Now, let's dive in because I really want to find out more about you and why you started this 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢 𝐌𝐻𝐧𝐬𝐢 app. Well, it works with Alexa, which is the Amazon voice app. So, but where did this all come about? Why did you decide to create something to talk about women's menstrual cycles? And I know you actually also combine it with the lunar cycle as well. So can you, which is, I think is amazing and awesome. So can you talk a bit about why you started it?
Well, I feel in today's modern world, and this might be a little bit controversial, but ever since that we've like adopted the birth control and women have come into working full time, women have really moved into the masculine role of society and just with the entire focus on the career, and that's what society and culture is pushing us to do. And to create success in the world, which really is what males need to conquer in the world. We've really forgotten that femininity side of listening, of going within, because a woman's role is to really conquer, and that's a masculine word though I used, really understand her inner world. And we've forgotten it. Our mothers have forgotten it. Our grandmothers have forgotten it. And so I feel we're being, society and media are really pushing us into the masculine, and women today are becoming the man that they want to marry. And that might sound controversial again, but we need to really come back into understanding ourselves from our body and our hormones, because I feel that there's a program there that's running us internally, and it's a way to really tap into our femininity. So because that's our natural feminine cycle, and it's much more than just giving birth, which a lot of people associate the menstrual cycle with, and it's much more than just our period as well, which society just focuses on. Like there's so much to uncover. So how do you feel that do you feel in your life you've been pushed more into the masculine, or do you feel that you've been balanced of both masculine and female role, or how do you feel society has pushed you?
Oh, I was definitely very in the masculine. I used to, run the children's hospital pharmacy here in Perth. So very much in the corporate, managing, climbing that ladder. So it was very masculine. I'm also checklists, things to do, the pushing, the striving, the achieving. That was me. Now I'm finding that I'm probably more balanced now, because I did go way into the feminine when I went like, nah, I don't want that anymore. I need to go into this. But it really, I'm finding the dance between, that masculine energy and the feminine energy. And it's this divine feminine, divine masculine energy. Even like when I was operating in the masculine energy, it was very much like the wounded, masculine energy and the wounded feminine energy as well. So really finding that nice balance of the divine. So that was me. But yeah, I love what you're talking about, is that we have forgotten, as a society for women to go within, and that it's not just about giving birth. Do you want to expand a bit more about what you mean with, what you said about knowing what your knowing about your menstrual cycle, and all that isn't just about just having babies, it's a whole lot more than that. Yeah.
So as a woman, as you already know, like we go through 4 seasons. So we started our menstrual phase, and then we go to our follicular, around to our ovulation, and we finish at our luteal phase. So each of these are giving off distinct hormones which can direct our emotions, our behaviors, our decisions we make, and our actions that we take. So I like to think of it as the seasonal energy. So think when you're going through the seasons, like winter, spring, summer, and autumn. What do you like to do in those seasons? So when we start at our menstrual phase, that's our winter energy. So that's the time when we like to retreat in the world and like have warm, cozy meals and drinks and really look after ourselves. And then like the bear emerges and we move into our follicular phase. So that's our spring energies. And so now we're coming, like we want to be out in the world. And this is actually the most masculine of all the 4 phases. It's when we can actually plan, and we have a lot of natural motivation being supported from our hormones to actually get things done, to dream big and start planning for the rest of your cycle. It's the best time to have go on trips and be independent and really be enthusiastic for our dreams and for life. Then we go into our summer energies of our ovulation, and that's typically when we want to be around community and parties and relaxation and really connect. This is the time when it's great for date nights or just connecting and serving others. It's when we want to be there for others. And then we move into our luteal energies, the final of the 4 seasons, into the autumn energies. So now we're starting to become the bear again, starting to go within. And actually the luteal phase mimics the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. So you may find yourself wanting to clean your house. You may find that you want to bake. You may find that you want to be at home and nest at home. So they're the gifts of all the 4 seasons. And once you can really tap into them, you can actually design your whole life around them in line with your normal calendar month. So you know what's coming up for you for each of those phases, and you know how to be supported in each of those phases. So do you design your life around your cycle and integrate it with the calendar?
Nope. Nope. But I know, I played around with your where is my period, your voice. I want to call it an app, but I know it's not an app. So I'm just going to say app because it's just easier.
Fine. Yeah. Everyone understands what app is.
Yeah. And I think I wasn't in the right frame of mind, and I always forgot to ask every day. And then I went, oh, I missed it. So then I'll wait for the next cycle. And then I was but I really love the prompts that, the app gives about each, when I start my period and what things to look for and, what to expect for the day. Mm-hmm. So I found that really useful. So I do need to go back and play with it a bit more, because I do know, everything you just said about each phase of the cycle makes so much sense. And I totally resonate with that, because any woman who just listened to you just now would be like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yes. And so what I find with women is everything is just sitting here. It's just here. And so, like you say, you know, but when you put dedication and focus into a 28-day challenge and you do it consistently for 28 days, it just rises above to the surface, and everything that needs to be expressed and observed just comes above, and then you just get it like that, like very quickly. But you need the dedication. You need it to be a 28-day journey, because that's how the hormones change 4 times. And you just you need to be going within every day to see what's coming up for you, and also to define your own follicular phase, your own ovulation phase, because we have textbook definitions, but that might not be for your cycle. And this is what I feel sets my challenge apart from anything you've read or watched videos on, is that you live your cycle every day and figure it out for yourself. So it's just like if I gave you a textbook about how to learn to surf, and you read it, and then you watched a video, but you never actually went to the beach, got on a surfboard, and experienced a wave for yourself. So you need to be living it every day. And so the prompts from the app gets you to go within and really see what's coming up for you every day. So yeah, it's really exciting. To do that.
Yeah, I love it. I've a couple of questions popped up as you were speaking. So the first one I'm going to ask you is, what about the women who don't have regular menstrual cycles? How would this help them? Because obviously, it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. So this is a real conscious, intentional journey, 28-day journey. So the one thing that's really powerful is when you talk to Alexa, you have to say, Alexa, where is my period, every day. So when you do that over a long time span of 28 days, it can really set into an intention of your psyche to really start like, I'm listening to my body. Come on, start talking to me and start telling me what you need to say. So there's that aspect of it. The other thing is, with women that are irregular, is I would put them on the new moon cycle. So women traditionally, when we go all the way back to the caveman days, when we were really connected to nature because we lived outside under the moonlight, and this is how the concept of time came about, was because women would watch the moon cycle, and they realized that they would bleed on the new moon for 3 days, and then they would count all the days around the moon cycle, and it would be 29.5 days, and then they would bleed again. So with that, I would go back to the traditional moon cycle and we'd start on the new moon. And we would put you in line with that traditional cycle where women would bleed on the new moon. They would then go into their follicular phase on the waxing moon. They would go into their ovulation under the full moon. So if you've ever noticed a full moon, that's when the plants and the animals are at the most fertile. This is the most fertile time of Earth. And then go into the luteal phase under the waning moon. So we're trying to make it a conscious, intentional journey to try and sync you up with the natural 28-day cycle. And you reading that forecast every day and also seeing, I'm in my ovulation phase, is very powerful to try and it's a real a mind journey and body journey as you go within and do the videos and see what came up with you over those 28 days. So yeah, intentional, I would say intentional to try and sync you up. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did have one lady, she actually had an ovarian cyst on her. And when she started doing the challenge, I think in around, from memory, day 10, she was just like, oh my God, I'm not doing the challenge anymore. Not like that. But she's like, I get it. My body's talking to me. I can hear it. My body just told me to go for a walk. And oh my God, my body just told me that not to drink the Coke. And she started really listening. And that was the first cycle that she didn't have any period pain. And she was used to be in so much pain from her cyst. And just from taking that intentional time to really go in and listen to your body, because the forecast is not only a prompt, what it's actually doing, which is the most amazing thing, is because you take that time and you go within and you say, is this forecast right for me? And it doesn't matter if the forecast isn't right. It's about, it prompts you to go within and say, hey, how am I feeling? You know, what is coming up for me? Did I notice anything in my behavior today or in my body? Yeah, so it's very, very, very powerful. Yeah.
Love it. So I just wanted to clarify. So if someone's irregular with their periods, so they would, when you ask, because I know with the app, you ask Alexa, where is my period? And then it'll ask you like, when was the first day of your last period? So would they still, so do they say the first day of the new moon cycle? Is that what you mean? Or do you, like, I just wanted to clarify that. Do they still go with?
They'd have to be very intentional. So, and it depends how irregular they are. So like, are they on a 40-day cycle and it comes every 40 days? Well, that they could start, you know, on like, say that start date, or is it like 23 days and then it's 35 and then it's like 50 and then they just don't know. So it really depends on the situation. So if it's someone that's totally irregular and doesn't know, I would wait until the new moon and then I would start. I wouldn't just go randomly, you know. Also with this, this is not going to work if it's just a once-off forecast. It's never going to work for you. If it's just a random, I'm just going to talk to Alexa. When you haven't committed to a 28-day challenge and gone through the 4 stages, it's never going to work. If you just get one random forecast here and there, no, it won't work. So you need to be committed to a 28-day challenge. So my inspiration was the Anthony Robbins 30-day challenge. Have you done that challenge?
No.
It's really powerful, but it's really focused on the masculine. And, you know, but it's a 30-day challenge where you start asking questions about yourself and what you want to achieve in the world. So, you know, that inspiration of that journey, and, you know, it's the time taken that makes the most transformation is, you know, what I see when women do the 28-day journey, because they've committed to that time. And that's when you see evolution and transformation over a period of time. So, yeah,
I love that. It is the commitment, because like everything else, going on a diet for one day is not going to help you lose weight. So asking where's my period for one day is not going to help you understand your cycles. So that makes total sense. No. Now, I wanted to jump back to the beginning when you were saying that, you know, our society has been very masculine and it's all about women striving in a career and wanting success, because that's what men do. So I wanted to, because you were saying, oh, that's controversial. And I do want to ask you, so are you saying that women shouldn't be successful, or is there a different way of approaching success for women? Can you expand on what you actually meant?
Yeah, well, I think success for a woman is understanding her menstrual cycle and being able to design her whole workload around her menstrual cycle. So, for instance, I set this, like, we chatted in, I think, June or July.
Yeah.
And then I got your calendar schedule. So I looked at my cycle and I was going, okay, where am I in my follicular and ovulation phases to have this call? Because I know that's where I look my best. I can communicate more clearly. My emotions are stable. So I had it. I'm just I think day 11 of my cycle. So I'm in my follicular phase, just one day before my ovulation phase, and then I lined it up with the full moon as well. So I thought, like, this would be perfect. So I think you can really design your life around to suit your outer world success, and to know, like, even if you are in the 9 to 5 world, that you know where you are in your cycle, so you can support yourself. So you know you're coming up to your luteal phase, which is your most, where the emotions are going to be coming up, where you need more time alone. So what events, networking events, social events can you say no to that really do not fulfill you at that time, where you can really take that time for yourself? Where can you go to bed earlier, or create a self-care routine in that luteal phase to support you in the 9 to 5? Or if you're in your follicular phase, where can you push yourself and work harder and actually work that extra hour or two, because that's where your natural motivation is, you know? And then where are you most creative in your cycle? To know, okay, I've got this project where I need to like be more creative, problem solve. Where can I leave it and wait for this phase and keep like being intentional with it, and see where the inspiration is going to come for that? Because my creativity is actually in my luteal phase. So when I get alone time, this is how I've created everything I've created. Not now, because I have a 4-year-old son, but where before my son, I would be in my luteal phase and I would be in bed on my computer, and it would just like all the inspiration would just download. It was amazing. But for other women, it's not their luteal phase. It's actually their ovulation phase, because that's the creation phase that they find their most creative. So I think it's the emergence of the two, you know, to be successful in understanding who you are as you navigate both energies.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. And I just love that, you know, when you say is being successful is being able to, you know, work with your body, with your cycles, to then craft that life that works for you. So that's really
and
beautiful.
Then also on top of that, it's like, through understanding your body, you will know yourself so much more, because you're living on the inside. So you'll know, okay, what is right for me? What's the right decision for me in the masculine, in the career world, in the successful world, in what I want to manifest? Because you'll be fused together in balance. And yeah, because you can't take away the masculine. The masculine there is to support us, you know, and we can't just be in the feminine where we're just floating along. Like, it's great to be in balance, supported by one another. It's a great feeling.
Yeah. I want to ask you, so we've talked about the menstrual cycle. How did you then go, oh, let's look at the moon cycle and kind of put them together? Because I know when we chatted back in June, July, you asked me when my first day of my period was, and it's like, oh, that's when, you know, whatever phase of the moon is, and you're a particular I can't remember, like, type.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. Can you expand a bit more and talk about, you know, combining the moon phases and your menstrual cycle?
Yeah, well, this was the first piece of information I learned on my journey when I was about 31, 32, I think. And it was a book by Dr. Leonard Shlain. And so he was a researcher, and he researched all the way back into caveman times the concept of time, and how it was the woman, through understanding her menstrual cycle, that gave humanity the concept of time. Because like I explained, she counted, you know, one moon to the next was 29.5 days. And then she realized, that's one lunar month. And then it was like, oh, that's 9 lunar months to birth a baby. So that was my introduction into the connection of the moon to the menstrual cycle. But as I kept studying and coming across more information, there was archetypes associated when you would bleed under a moon phase. So, for example, if you bleed under the new moon, that's the traditional moon cycle. So that's the white moon goddess. White moon goddess. So That's when you bleed under the new moon and you ovulate under the full moon. So she's like the mother archetype because she's in line with the traditional moon cycle. Now, it's not important that you have to be under I need to be under the new moon, I need to bleed under the new moon. No. It's, your body knows best, and she will bleed under the moon cycle that she knows best, and she has a special message for you. The most important thing is that you have a healthy menstrual cycle, because for women it's just as important as having like your breath and your heart rate, that they're all aligned, that they're all healthy and working. For a woman, it's the same as a menstrual cycle. Like, it's part of our health and our well-being and our vitality. So don't worry that you're not under the new moon. So traditionally, the white moon goddess is when she would be out in the world, caring in her community under the full moon, but she would retreat and look after herself and receive the intuitive messages for her under the new moon. So that's just a little basic rundown of the traditional moon cycle. But then you have the red moon goddess, and she's the red moon cycle. So she bleeds under the new moon. So bleeds under the full moon and ovulates under the new moon. So she's opposite to the white moon cycle. So she's considered like the healer, the wise woman archetype of the community, because she's here to work with the community and empower women. So you might see her like as a midwife, like doing amazing work, or someone doing amazing work with women. So do you know what moon phase you're
Mine has changed.
Yeah, and it changes.
Yes. Gosh, I can't remember when I last had I'm actually coming up to my period, probably in about 10 days' time.
That might be in the waning moon, because we just entered the waning moon period. Yeah. So the last moon phase. So that's the purple moon goddess. And so she's like the enchantress. So because the waning moon is becoming darker and darker, it's the last moon phase before the new moon, and it's getting darker and darker, which means we're like going within, and we're getting more introspective, and we're like the butterfly, like going into the cocoon, or is that the right one, or is that the opposite? The moth. I don't know. The butterfly analogy.
Yeah. Going into the cocoon, and then we...
Yeah. And so we're working on ourselves and doing a lot of work so like we can emerge as the butterfly. Yes, we want to emerge as the butterfly. So you're in that self-reflection and really looking after yourself and asking deep questions about yourself, like, who am I? What's my purpose in the world? So you can emerge as the butterfly. So
yeah. And I can tell you that is exactly where I am at the moment. Because this last few days I was like, this is a time to recalibrate and reflect. So actually, when I spoke to you, I remember I was the purple goddess.
Purple moon goddess.
And then it moved, because I remember, I'm not in that cycle anymore. And then now it's kind of come back to purple. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just interesting to observe and watch and see if it changes or if it stays under the same moon phase. Like for me, for over 3 years, it stayed under the purple moon goddess. And it was interesting because I was going through a period of transformation, and it also lined up with my astrology chart. I had my Pluto in my 8th house of Capricorn, which is really like transformational. It's when I moved from Sri Lanka to Vietnam, and then I moved from Vietnam to Albania. So I had to break down a lot of conditioning about how I thought my life would be. I thought I'd live in Australia. I thought I'd be close to my mum. I thought I'd have 2 kids. I've only got 1, and I thought I'd just have the house with 2 cars. But I really like surrendered to that. And so now, as I've really surrendered to my life now in Albania and my true purpose of why am I here, my period changed from the waning moon after 3 years, 3 consistent years of being under that moon phase. It changed to the waxing moon. So that's the pink moon goddess. So that's when the moon is starting to grow brighter, which means you're moving from the young girl into the maiden, and you're coming into yourself, and like you have that energy for yourself and to like try new things and understand yourself and go out into the world. And so, yeah, so then it's been like a few on that, the waxing moon, then it went to the full moon. Now it's come back to the waxing moon. So it's just interesting to observe, like, where she is. And I just feel that because I'm so in tune, my period always comes at the right time for what's happening in my life. The events that are coming, she always shows up at the right time. So I'm so lucky to be in sync and have had this journey. And I'm 41 now, and I'm going to miss her when she leaves, like having my cycle, but I will line up with the new moon cycle when that happens, when I hit menopause. So I will be in tune with that white moon goddess cycle from the new moon. So, yeah.
That's interesting, because I was going to ask you, as you were talking about, your period leaving, because I turned 40 this year, and
okay.
yeah. So what happens is once your period decides to say bye-bye, then you would just align yourself to the new moon cycle.
New moon. Yes, and I've actually been working with menopausal women. So I've got 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢. She did the challenge publicly on her social media, and also 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢, and she's 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢 63.
I know 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢.
You know 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢.
I just interviewed her like last week.
Oh, really? Amazing. Yeah, so she did the challenge at 63. 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢 was 54. And so they connected to the traditional moon cycle, and they were able to see, what was going to come up to them. And a really good analogy is this: if you lose your limb, you can still feel sensations there, and there's energy contained in there. And the same goes with our womb center. So, every woman's different who would go on this experience as a menopausal woman. But there's a few things, like for 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢, she really connected to past memories and wanted to reconnect with her cycle that she never knew. So that was really interesting. And 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢 wanted to like really connect to the moon cycle, and all her memories were flooding back as well. Like she goes, I think I would be in my ovulation phase. I'm feeling like energetic and I want to be out and social. It was very interesting to observe their journey. So yeah, definitely. I work with menopausal women, and also I'm working with another woman who's coming up to menopause, and she's just like, society feels like they tell me that it's the end. It's the end for menopausal women. And I'm not going to have a structure. I don't know where to go. And I feel that this, like following the moon cycle, will be the structure and the habit forming to follow, and know that, no, this is not the end, and you are the wise woman now of society. You are here to help others. That's really, when we get to menopause, what our role is as women, is to now start imparting our knowledge onto the younger generation. So it's not the end. It's not the end.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. And when you said 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢, because I was looking at your Facebook, and I was like, oh, that lady looks familiar. I'm like, oh, that's 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢. So as soon as she said her, I knew. I mean, I'm sure might be more 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢s, but I knew it was that one. That's 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢. Yeah, she's amazing. She is an amazing woman herself. So, okay. So, I mean, I just love what you're doing, and I want to ask you. So, you obviously there must have been something that triggered you or activated you to become so interested in menstrual cycles and the lunar cycle. What was it that created that spark for you to go down this journey to really become the expert and creating an app or voice companion?
Yeah, so when I was 24, I moved from my town in Lismore, Australia, and moved all the way to London. And so that was the start of my spiritual journey. I had a massive heartbreak. I was with my boyfriend for like 9 years. So I was very young, in that relationship. I was tied to my mum so much. And so that was the start at 24 of me going out in the world and trying to figure out who I was. And then from that journey and living in different countries, I attracted a lot of books on my journey. And I was always asking, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And I would write it down every year, and I just kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. And then I met my husband when I was 30. And we moved to the top of the Philippines, and that was in like 2013. And he was a digital nomad before the word digital nomad was even around. So we lived in a really tiny fishing village, like imagine palm trees and amazing blue water. And I didn't have to work, and he was working with his company. And so, like, what am I going to do with my days? So he recommended the book by 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢, and it was Sex, Time, Power. And when I first read this book, it just hit me on the inside, and I could not believe that a woman's menstrual cycle was connected to the moon. That was the first piece of information, and I was 31, 32, and I was just like, if I'm learning this at this age, like, how many women do not know this? And then, like, on my spiritual journey, I lived overseas. I was around people all the time. Not one person talked to me about the menstrual cycle. I even studied astrology, like just the basics astrology. And it was, the moon and everything. And I know astrology is not connected to the menstrual cycle, but I just was in that spiritual realm and around people, and no one talked to me about the menstrual cycle or the moon cycle. And so when this information hit me, it was just like that perfect match of what is my purpose that I'd been asking for so many years. And I was just like, I just knew this was the truth. And from there, I just kept attracting naturally books into my life about the menstrual cycle. And then that's like, after a few years, I went really deep. And I had a year of just going within and asking myself, okay, what phase am I in? I know the definition. What's the moon phase? I know the definition, but how am I feeling? So I was tracking what intuitive messages came up for me. Do I feel motivated or unmotivated? What foods am I actually craving at the moment? What's my mind capacity like? My mental capacity, like my mental clarity, like, is it foggy? I went into everything for over a year, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And then just kept creating. And what the best thing was, like, my husband's entrepreneurial. So he created that space for me to be entrepreneurial. And because we lived in Sri Lanka, this is where we created it all. We had to move outside of Australia to do it, because Australia to me is not entrepreneurial. And I had to move away from my family, because my family think I'm all crazy for how we live our life and what I do in the world. So it's not supportive. So this is how I was able to create everything. And yeah, just love it, because it's so passionate to me. It changed my life. Like, I live from the inside out, and I found myself through my cycle. And like I said, I designed my whole cycle, my life around my entire cycle. So yeah, it's such a blessing, such a blessing. And life just flows for me. So
I love it.
So that's where it all started.
Yeah, that's really cool. And, just listening to you as we've been talking for the last, 40 minutes, the passion that you have and the knowledge you have around menstrual cycles and lunar cycles is just amazing. So thank you for sharing this knowledge with us. I wanted to ask you, because this kept popping into my head, so I'm going to ask you. So, you went, okay, I'm going to go deep into this. I've now learned about the menstrual cycle, the lunar cycle, and how it's all connected. What then sparked you to make a voice companion? And what was that process like? Was it very difficult because obviously there's lots of things that you need to put together for it to happen?
Yeah. Well, the idea came in 2017, so it's been around for a while. Everything like what has happened today has not come up like been created just like this year or anything. It has been a long, long journey. So the app idea came, and it was actually connected to. I actually created a menstrual cycle game, and so it was connected to that. Then what happened was I didn't think anything of the app hadn't come into my being at that time in 2017, 2018, 2019. It wasn't even in my being. Then 2020 happened, and we had to pivot. So the workshops, I was doing workshops, couldn't be done anymore. And so I just started using the app every day and I was just like, what is happening now? I would get a forecast every day, and I would really start observing what was happening through my day and recording it. And so I kept doing it. I did that like 3 months, and I was just like, oh, if this is happening to me, imagine what this could do to like for other women. Then I got 4 girls that I knew, and I said, can you do me a favor and use this app? And I was very like lenient back then, because this is back in 2020. And I was just like, can you just use it maybe once a week? Yeah. And I want to do a documentary, and I want to see if what I'm experiencing is what you're experiencing. Anyway, so I did a documentary, and they could not believe that they never knew this about their menstrual cycle, that they went through 4 phases and what was coming up for them. And then it was just like, this can't be a documentary. Like, it has to move away from that. So then it was just like, this has to become a challenge. And so I started working with women who wanted to do it publicly and and then it had to be every day. And it was like, it doesn't, like, yes, I had results with the girls just using it sporadically, but I was just like, once you do this process, you refine, and it gets better. And then I had another group, and I said, it's a 28-day challenge. You got to do it every day for 28 days. And then they started having like amazing results. And yeah, it's just grown from that. So it's been an amazing journey as you like work on it every day, ask questions around it, and just keep going. And I'm just so blessed to be supported to be able to do this and make it where it is today. So yeah, very lucky.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that, because yeah, the question kept popping back into my head, like, what was the process? How did it all come about? So wow. So it's the Voice Companion has been around since 2017. So yeah, that's really, really cool. Do you still have the because you said you had a game, like do you still have that, or you've kind of like moved away from it and it's just the app and using it, doing the 28-day challenge?
No, I do still have it, and it's evolved as well. So originally it was just based on the menstrual cycle, but now it's actually evolved into dating with the intent to marry workshop. So it's really about the female journey, and part of the female journey is understanding your menstrual cycle. So the elements of the original game are still there, but the focus is about the female journey, which is dating, becoming married at the end, and having a baby. And I just think there's a real shift in male and female dynamics these days. Men and women aren't getting together. There's an increase of women who are going to be childless and haven't found their soulmate, so to have a family. And yeah, I want to try and help women start becoming intentional with the female journey and understanding the female journey and seeing if that's what they want, to be married and have a family and set them on the right course. Yeah,
that's really cool. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that. So Andi, I'm just looking at the time, so I've got a couple more questions for you. The first one is, having gone through your journey and spiritual awakening, What if you could go back to a younger version of you? What is that one piece of advice that you'll give to a younger version of Andi?
My menstrual cycle. Because my mom, it came from, all my conditioning came from my mom. So I'd love to know what like your mom told you about your menstrual cycle. So with my mom, it was like, just put a tampon in and go for a run, go swimming, go do this, go do that. Doesn't matter. And that was the whole focus. But she was very good because she's like showed me it was a natural part of life. And she was very comfortable in showing her naked body around me. So I had that part of me that it is natural and not to be ashamed of it. But that was the level of it. I didn't even know until I was in my third. I didn't know when I was ovulating. I don't know when back then when my body was ovulating. I didn't even know that when you ovulate, you have this cervical mucus that discharges. I was completely unconscious until I started doing all this work. So that was my level of understanding. So I would encourage my younger self to really start understanding who you are from your menstrual cycle. It has so many gifts, and you can really start living from the inside and knowing who you really are. So, but tell me, what did your mom teach you? What was her conditioning?
One, I'm Asian, and so we don't really talk too much about these things. So it was pretty much like it's natural part of life. Here's a pad.
Yeah.
I learned, because I was a pharmacist, and I did do a lot of human bio and stuff at school. So all the other things around the scientific, side of the biological side of things, I learned at school. But in terms of how we feel and all the emotional, spiritual side of things, you don't get to learn that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And Andi, I really would love for you to share with us what is setting your soul on fire right now.
Oh, of course, the Alexa, Where Is My Period 28-day challenge. I have a special offer where we can go private. And so that's one-on-one coaching. But if you'd like to do the challenge for free, let's do it together on your social media. You can post your journey, and I can provide my coaching services for free. Everything that I do for a private client becomes free, but you're promoting your entire 28-day journey on social media. And I've had many women do this. So I can send you some links like Lisa and Megma and Andra and Deanna. There, and you can follow their journey on social media and see if it's a fit for you. And otherwise, it's the same process, but we do video diaries privately. It's still an amazing process. And that video diary, as well as seeing yourself on camera, is amazing self-love practice in itself. Like doing that every day for 28 days. Extremely powerful.
Yeah, love it. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time and your love and wisdom. It's just amazing. I loved our conversation. I've learned so much, and I'm sure everyone that's watching or listening to this has learned so much as well from you. So if people want to find out more about you or join the challenge, where's the best place to find you?
Probably Facebook. Andi Munsie 7, I think I'm at. And you can just look at all the women who have done the challenge and see for a fit, and message me directly. And I love to take you on this journey.
Awesome. What I'll do is I'll have your details and the link to your Facebook in the show notes so people can reach out to you and start the 28-day challenge. I think it's definitely really worth doing it, especially if you want to really create a life that, where you are doing the things in the right phases of your menstrual cycle. So, thank you so much once again, Andi. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, 𝐀𝐧𝐝𝐢. Thank you.
Thank you.